Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Last night I tried to record this and it went over an hour. So that actually sounds insufferable to listen to me for over an hour talk about two topics. But tonight we're going to give it another go and try to condense it just a little bit. But before I get into the topics that I want to talk about, I want to thank each and every one of you that reached out and kind of exposed to me some of the things that you might be going through or asked how to navigate someone else going through issues. I noticed when I was going through rehab that being as vulnerable as possible only led to good things. And by me being as vulnerable as I can with everybody else, it opens up the floodgates for other people to finally be vulnerable with themselves and with me, I guess, with some of the issues that they might have going on. So, if you might be afraid to be vulnerable with other people, just know that if you are, it will allow others to be vulnerable with you too. And I think it is an extremely humbling gift to receive the amount of people that reached out to me. So I just want to thank every one of you because it honestly touched my heart. So yeah, thank you. But the two topics that I want to talk about a little bit tonight are being stuck, not really knowing where to go or what to do with your life in the current moment, and this idea of confidence and what confidence is and what it really is not, and where these conversations stem from are my notes app in my phone. And the backstory on that is when I was in rehab, I always did not have access to paper, but I always had access to some type of notes sheet on my phone. And I've always been a huge podcast listener, book reader, and article goer, I guess, if you want to call it that. But whenever I listen to a podcast, read a book, and I figure out a topic that's really interesting to me, or I hear a quote that really resonates with me, I write it down in my notes app in my phone, and I kind of treat that topic or that quote as a topic for me to have a journal entry with. And for those that don't know, I love psychology, so much so that I almost graduated with a minor in psychology from Ohio State. A different story for a different day, of course, but I love psychology, anything with human behavior, thoughts, feelings, emotion, human interaction, like all that shit. I love it. So in my free time, that is a majority of the content and stuff that I consume just because I love it. And I noticed that whenever I consume stuff like that, it really makes me open my mind up to different ideas. So, kind of transitioning into that first point is being stuck. As I said, if you're in your mid-20s to early 30s, I guarantee you have thought once, twice, maybe a handful of times of that feeling of not knowing what's next, right? You don't know what to do. You don't know what that next phase of it is in your life. Maybe you're not happy, but you don't know really what to do next. You're stuck, right? Well, one of the things biologically that is going on is your brain wants you to be comfortable all the time. Your body does not want a new homeostasis. By being stuck, that is comfortable for your brain. Your brain does not like change. So in order for you to have a new homeostasis, you need to elicit some type of change. And there are a lot of different subsections for this, and I'm going to try to go through a couple of them to make it make sense. So if you're stuck or not knowing what to do, there is an identity mismatch between what you think and what you do. Your thoughts do not align with your actions. So this could stem from a possible fear of change. You might be afraid of actually doing the thing that you want. You might be afraid to speak it. But At the end of the day, if you really want to make that change, you have to decide if it's worth fighting for. And most of the time, if you're stuck and you want to get there, you will give up whatever the fuck it takes to make that change. Next, this thing that kills any type of change. We brought it up in my small group a couple weeks ago. And the topic was vices that need to go in the new calendar year. And this idea of cheap dopamine being the happy hormone, right? Anything that gives you dopamine that requires little to no effort is not fucking worth it. It is not going to help you in your life. In order to get unstuck, or in order to get things going to where you want to go, you have to get used to working for the result. If you constantly have all this cheap dopamine, meaning like scrolling on your phone or just having things come to you with no work at all. Social media, doom scrolling is the easiest example of cheap dopamine. It's the easiest. It's on your phone. You have literally no work to do besides click an app on your phone. This teaches you that I can just have happiness by doing little to nothing. And if you really want to do the deep work of trying to get unstuck and figuring out that next phase of your life, you have to figure out ways to limit or completely eliminate cheap dopamine. Another one for me, I mentioned it earlier. Whenever I listen to podcasts or whenever I find a quote, an article, a topic that I like, I journal about it because that is what expands my mind. That allows me to have specific time to think about certain things. And that goes into this next point of you need purposeful moments to expand your brain. For me, this is journaling and prayer, bar none. I pray every single day and I journal whenever I have the time to, whenever I'm in the right mindset. And one of the things that is so powerful and beautiful about journaling is it allows you to get closer emotionally with yourself. You can peel back the layers of your brain and figure out, okay, this is who I am with no distractions. And I think it is incredibly useful daily or multiple times a week if you have the free time to do it. You need to set the stage to get emotionally closer with yourself. And by getting emotionally closer with yourself, you're going to figure out who you are, what you like, and possibly in these journal entries, you might figure out, okay, this is a way that might get me to that next step, or this is what might get me unstuck from the things that I'm dealing with. And to kind of throw some of these on myself, whenever I journal and reflect on some of the things, like I really had to eliminate a lot of the people, places, and things out of my life that were not serving me in the next point. I talked about my calling being helping others and being a great conversationalist when it comes to, really talking through the ideas that I have and just being a deep person and trying to share all of that with people. I would never be able to digest those feelings and make them palatable for other people if I didn't journal and get closer to who I was as a person. So I highly recommend it. It is a great tool. And I kind of said it in a different sense. I think journaling helps me expand my mind, but also you need to surround yourself with expansive minds. And immediately when I think of this, it's the famous quote of you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? But it makes a lot of sense. If you look at the 5 closest people to you and you put labels, adjectives, whatever you want on those people, that's most likely going to be you too. And I guarantee you if I did that for me, it's probably going to be me. And right now, who I am as a person, the 5 people that I associate with now, completely different than the 5 people that I associated with 6 months ago. For me, my big goals now are my health, my faith, and bolstering my relationships with the people that I love the most. And I was not prioritizing that 6 months ago. But whenever you're around expansive minds, focus on the conversations that you're around. What are you talking about? Are you talking about surface level shit? Or are you talking about like deep, meaningful conversations? Are you helping people or are you just talking about bullshit, right? And then look and ask, what people are you around? Are you with people that are filling your cup up or completely draining you of energy? Be very mindful of who you allow to have your time. And lastly, on this idea of being stuck, you need to believe that you're worthy of making these changes, of being able to find that next step in your life. And that comes from self-love. Whenever you look at yourself in the mirror, how do you speak to yourself? Do you speak to yourself from a place of self-love or a place of self-hate? For me personally, I've had to work on this. I've had to work on positive self-talk and, framing conversations with myself from a positive light rather than a place of hate. And I'll tell you what, it makes a huge difference. If you are constantly calling yourself a loser, a pussy, and all these things that are going to emotionally tear you down, eventually it's going to get to you and you're not going to feel like you're worthy of achieving the things that you want to do. So to kind of put a bow on this first topic of being stuck and not really knowing what the next step is in your life, please start talking from a place of self-love, reframing the conversations, the internal dialogue that you have with yourself to be positive and full of love versus hate. Look at who you are spending the most time with and who is impacting your decision making. Don't be afraid to change also. You need to align your thoughts with your actions. You need to align everything with that next phase of your life and have purposeful, meaningful times of reflection, whether that's prayer, journaling, or meditation for you. Pick one. All right. That wraps up being stuck, not knowing where to go. Next, we're going to talk about confidence, which I think is going to be kind of fun because it's kind of a foreign topic for a lot of people. But first, I want to talk about what confidence is not. Confidence is not about titles, achievements, money, physical belongings, none of the stuff that matters. It is not ego. And I'll go over a little bit what I mean by ego here in a little bit. And I'll talk about, some easy ways to maybe feel more confident. But I think for me personally, I've noticed the most confidence being content with who I am and being authentic to who I am. No one can make me feel more confident than myself. And whenever I'm in control of all my decisions and all my emotions, that's when I'm the most confident. It's when I have the most electricity in my voice, and it's when I have the most light in my eye, I guess. It's when people tell me I look the best is when I'm at peace. And whenever I'm at peace, I'm confident because I know I'm exactly who I need to be. So there's a couple different components that I thought of from whether it be psychology background or, just real world type of experience. But there is a component with confidence being self-esteem. And this is kind of how you view yourself. You've heard, do you have positive or negative self-esteem? And that is a very valid question. This is your confidence in yourself, whether you weigh on that pro or con column, but it's your view of yourself. And this can be emotional or physical. And going back to that first topic of being stuck, if you talk from yourself, if you talk to yourself from a place of love, you're more than likely going to have a positive self-esteem. The next component is self-efficacy, which I know this is probably fucking boring as hell because it is a psychology term, but it is real. Self-efficacy is, do you believe that you can even do the thing in the first place, right? Do you have the faith that you can achieve the goal? Do you have the faith that you can complete the project? Do you have faith that you can even strike up the conversation with the guy or girl that you're interested in? This is all self-efficacy. And a part of this too is, do you have the prior experience to build a foundation to get there? To me, a big part of confidence is, have you gone through the thing before? Have you experienced what it feels like to get there and do the thing? And for most things that make us feel confident, it's stuff that we shoot for way down the road that we might not have experience with. And that's completely fine. There is a prior evidence component that plays a huge part in this self-efficacy thing that can be dramatically enhanced with your confidence. And I kind of touched on it before, but fuck, be authentic, be you. There is only one you on this entire planet. No one else can be you. Be full-fledged you. That being said, that does not give you an excuse to be an asshole or a fucking lunatic, okay? That kind of ties in with ego. Being authentic means being you, but you can be polite and non-egotistic asshole version of you. If you wall yourself up with having a huge ego, one, it's false confidence, and you don't truly love the version of yourself of who you are. But two, you're not going to grow past that ego. It's always going to stop you from being who you were set out to be. Now, this is the part that's kind of fun. Now that, I'm at a super peaceful moment in my life, I've thought over the last few weeks, reflected of like, what are the physical things that I feel in order to be confident? And as I said, I'm a huge observer. I look at things way too in depth. I'm a huge overthinker, but I take pride in, if I look at someone or speak to someone for 5 minutes, or if I have the opportunity to do both, talk to them and observe their behaviors, I know enough in 5 minutes of an interaction with a human being to know exactly who they are, based on eye contact, based on body language, based on speech. I promise you, if you want to become a more confident person by physically tricking yourself into different things, will help you be more confident. And the first thing is posture. Ask yourself, are you someone that I'm doing it on the couch, but I look ridiculous. Are you someone that hunches over and looks like someone has their upper back broken? Or are you someone that stands proud, stands tall, shoulders back, chest out? Do you have confidence in your upper body position to show the world, yeah, this is who I am, damn it. I'm not afraid to go and display myself as confident. So posture is a huge one. And another one is, do you smile? Do you have a face or a facial expression that is open to accepting other people? Or do you just seem like a happy person? And it sounds weird, but the more you smile, the more smiles you get back. And the more you smile, the happier you are. Happy for me is linked to confident. If I'm pissed and sad, I'm probably not going to be confident. And I firmly fucking believe the energy that you put out is the energy that you receive. If you are someone that is full of life, full of confidence, and just glad to be wherever you are. That is the energy that you are going to receive back. People are going to notice it innately, or whether they're fully aware of it or not, right? They're going to look at you and say, oh, I think that person might be, open to having a conversation, or they might be worth approaching. So top two for me, facial expressions, posture. In the last one that I'll kind of go over, I thought it was kind of cool. This one, charisma and aura, and I lumped them together. And I had to look up the exact definition of charisma, and it's that word magnetic, the ability to charm, influence, and inspire others through a combination of confidence, warmth, and presence. And to me, the two most impactful words in that are magnetic and presence. Who do you think of, male or female, in your life that just has such a strong presence? It doesn't matter what they say or what they do. You will drop everything to listen and follow to do exactly what they do, right? Like it's indescribable. Whenever you're around certain people, or you just look at certain people, you want to take in as much as you can because you are so stunned and in awe of their presence. And I've never met The Rock, but I named a couple people in my head who kind of just have this charisma, this aura about them that is fucking magnetic, like the definition, right? Like, to me, The Rock, he is unapologetically himself. Dwayne Johnson's alter ego, the fucking Rock, he fucking rocks. He's unapologetically himself. Sometimes egotistic for sure, but The Rock has that charisma. Another one, if people are country artist fans like I am, to me, Riley Green has a certain aura, a certain charisma to him that other country artists don't. Like, he embraces the fact that he is not the traditional country artist, and he wears cutoffs, he wears boots, but he leans into it so hard compared to other country artists. Like, he just has a certain aura about him that is not comparable to other country artists. And the last one that I thought of is, if you are a Stranger Things fan, I thought Billy, who died in, I can't remember which season, but to me, Billy, the car that he drove, the clothes that he wore, the way that he presented himself, dude, he just had an aura about him. So cool. But like charisma, aura, and all these different factors of confidence and how they contribute to who you are, to me, I think it's super cool and super powerful. And you can kind of lump the two together, right? Like, if you feel stuck or you don't know what the next phase of your life is, like, if I put this in the view of myself, to give you guys an example, like when I was in rehab, I had to sit myself down and really think about, okay, you put yourself here, you got yourself in this position. You have a lot of things that aren't making you happy right now, but where can I go with my life to try to be happier? And I had to sit myself down, consider every single angle of my life, whether it was a detriment to my life or whether it was adding to my life. And at that time, I didn't have a ton of things that were adding to my life, but I was incorporating a lot of things in that had potential to add quality to my life. And now, present day, when I talk to you, it's the day after Ash Wednesday, so we're at February 19th. I have so many things in my life now that add such depth, such quality. And I'm probably as more confident now than as more. Wow, English is real great tonight, Nick. Goodness. Gosh. I'm probably as confident now as I've ever been in my life, just from the changes that I've made very abruptly, but they're very sustainable. And it took a ton of hard work. It took me reflecting. It took me journaling. It took me praying. It really took dedicated time to figure out what was going on right now that needed to change, and what the fuck were the steps that I needed to take in order to get to the place that I wanted to go. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're not knowing what that phase is, try to listen to that part back again and see how that could be applicable to you. Sit yourself down, really think about what you need to work on as a human being. And first off, try to figure out who you are, figure out what makes you happy. As I said, a lot of my lessons that I learned in rehab are incredibly applicable to real life situations as well. And I incorporated a couple of those, but genuinely, I think the biggest topics are figure out who you are as a person, first and foremost. What do you like? What lights you on fire? What people do you like being around? What are the things that give you energy versus take it? And then kind of base your goals off that and go from there. Yeah, that was a long tangent there, but with that being said, I'm going to kind of wrap up the being stuck in confidence portion of things. I managed to do it in under 28 minutes, so I did a lot better than last night. But I did record the first version of this on Ash Wednesday, and I wanted to go through the giving up a certain thing for 40 days. I talked to a family member that I asked her, I was like, hey, we talked about our mass plans, and I asked her, do you plan on giving anything up for Lent? And she said, we're really bad at giving things up in this household. So she started paying good deeds forward is what she phrased it as. And I really took that to heart, because after rehab and everything, I really don't have a lot of bad things to eliminate from my life right now. But I prayed on it, and I thought, what are good things that I could pay forward for an entire 40 days? And prayed on it, and I think I came on a good thing today. So for the 40 days of Lent, I'm going to try to give someone an unsolicited compliment every day, or try to emotionally free up my time. And what that means is, if someone says they need to talk, or if somebody needs advice that they ask for, I am going to be an open ear for that time period to try to do everything that I can to help in this situation. But I think the compliment thing is very, it's very, very easy to do. You just got to be mindful of it. Yeah, shit, that's a good word, mindful. Man, that journaling, mindful, time to be mindful. But yeah, today I did it at work when I was on the phone with somebody, and it felt really good. So I encourage you, if you are a believer in Jesus Christ, or if you believe in a different God that has a time of giving things up, try to reframe it as, maybe I add something in, maybe I pay a good deed forward. I think that was a really good thing for me to reframe also. But yeah, I'm going to try to give a compliment or be emotionally available for some people every day of Lent. And then, of course, not eat meat on Fridays. We go on intend some killer fish fries, but yeah, I need to shut the fuck up and stop talking. Yeah, Reed and I will be back But I think the solo episodes for me on these topics of, going off of what's in my notes page, it's titled as Nick's. Wow, voice crack. It's titled as Nick's Notes in my phone, so it's kind of vulnerable for me in my notes page. It's a space. It's a safe space for me to, talk about some things that expand my mind. So hopefully you guys get some quality advice or content from, the things that I think about and the things that I journal about. So yeah, that being said, have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to y'all next week.